Namaste. Today we're going to talk about pranayama and the various health benefits of pranayama on our mind and body. Now, in the previous video, we discussed about breath and how we can use our own breath for our well being. We also talked about a basic breathing exercise that we can follow to calm our mind. Now, let's dig a little deeper into it. Let's understand how pranayama works on our mind and body. As we know, breathing is a process of moving air into and from the lungs to facilitate gas exchange with the internal environment of the system, mostly to flush out carbon dioxide and bring in oxygen. So, breath is a force that sustains life. We cannot be alive without the breath. If we stop breathing, we die. However, conscious breath is a force that sustains awareness. So that means if you're conscious of your breath, you are more aware. Therefore, in the practice of yoga, the breath is fundamental. Now, pranayama is a yogic practice of focusing on breath. Pranayama is a Sanskrit word. It's a combination of two words, prana and yama, in which prana means the vital life force and yama means to gain control. So pranayama means to gain control of the vital life force. In yoga, breath is associated with the prana. So breath is not the prana itself, but is associated with the prana. Thus, pranayama is a means to elevate the prana shakti, which are your life energies. Since it is associated with the breath, by practicing various breathing exercises, we can gain control of our prana as it's associated with the breath. Now, in much simpler terms, pranayama is defined simply as breath control and is a primary component in a traditional yoga practice. It is the regulation of breath through certain techniques and exercises. There are different types of pranayamas. So, breath is associated with the prana, and by controlling the breath, we have command on our prana, which is a vital life force, and the prana shakti, which are our life energies. The easiest and the fastest way to increase the prana, the vital life force in the body, is to change our breathing to affect the quality and quantity of air taken into the lungs. As I said, there are different types of pranayamas, and by practicing these pranayamas, we can, be very effective in the amount of oxygen we take in or the carbon dioxide that we expel from the body. Prana is also observed in the nose by its connection to the two nadi energy channels that terminate in the nostrils. So by being aware of your breath or just by practicing certain breathing exercise, these nadis which are connected to the nostrils are purified. So prana is believed to travel along pathways called nadis, while there are said to be about 72,000 of these channels within the pranamaya kosha. Well, now, pranamaya kosha is the second of the 5 layers, or sheaths, if you will, of the body, which are collectively referred to as the panchakosha in yogic philosophy, the 5 layers. Just to make it simple, pranamaya kosha, which is one of the 5 koshas or layers, is what unites the body and the mind. And by practicing pranayama, the pranamaya kosha is enhanced. Anyway, now coming back to pranayama. Pranayama tends to focus on 3 primary nadis, the Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. Now the Ida corresponds to the left side of the spinal column, Pingala corresponds to the right side of the spinal column, and the Sushumna nadi corresponds to the center of the spinal column. And by practicing various types of pranayamas, we purify these nadis or channels. Pranayama is used to control, cultivate, and change the prana in the body. A change in the prana will affect the whole body, both mentally and physically. Now, there are 4 stages of pranayama. There is the puraka, rechaka, antarakumbhaka, bahyakumbhaka. Now, going step by step, first thing that comes is the puraka, followed by that antarakumbhaka, and then rechaka, followed by that the bahyakumbhaka. Now, puraka is the inhalation, when you take in air into the lungs. Antarakumbhaka is the mindful pause after inhalation, when you retain your breath once the lungs are full. Rechaka is the exhalation when you breathe out, and Bahya Kumbhaka is the mindful pause after exhalation when you hold your breath when the lungs are empty. Now, for most pranayama techniques, the breath is slow and steady, breathed in and out of the nose and down into the belly. We mostly use our diaphragm when we breathe. When you practice pranayama, always sit with a straight spine and a relaxed body while you are practicing pranayama. Let go of any thoughts by focusing on the type of breathing involved with the pranayama. So, if you're a beginner, the first thing to master in pranayama is the rechaka, which is the exhalation. Make sure that when you breathe out, it is slow and steady. After you have mastered rechaka, then you can move on to the puraka, which is the inhalation. Make sure that when you breathe in, you do it slow and steady until your lungs are full. Once both puraka and rechaka, inhalation and exhalation respectively, are mastered, then finally you can move on to the kumbhaka, both antara and bahya. Antara kumbhaka is the mindful pause after inhalation, and bahya kumbhaka is the mindful pause after exhalation. So, if you're a beginner, first learn to release breath and then inhale breath and then finally hold breath. So, if you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or gasping for air, stop the pranayama and take slow, relaxed, normal breaths until you have recovered. Do not strain your body while practicing pranayama. Pranayama has to be smooth, it should never be stressed or strained. When you feel fatigued, stop and rest. After practicing pranayama, you can lie down in a position called the shavasana, which is an asana, where you lie down on your back on the ground or a flat surface, hands next to the body, and palms facing upward. And in this position, you focus on your breath. Or you can also practice a few minutes of meditation after you have practiced pranayama. Now, the science of breathing, as explained in the previous video about breath, has a very logical explanation as to why pranayama, the breathing exercises, benefits our mind and body. Apart from controlling stress, it benefits the respiratory system in many ways. Among the several advantages of pranayama, this practice of yogic breathing also impacts various health conditions as well. So there are several studies and researches conducted that are evidence showcasing positive health benefits of yoga and pranayama. And it's also recommended that you do it early in the morning in fresh air, preferably outside, and on an empty stomach. So that's all for now, friends. However, in the next video, we're going to discuss 5 basic pranayama exercises that we can practice for our well-being. I'll see you then. Namaste.